I am God, the owner of the universe. I exist everywhere. There is no place where I am not. I am self-existing, absolute, unique, unchanging, eternal, and omnipresent. I am invisible, infinitely large and small. I have infinite power. I lack nothing. So, what was my fundamental motivation for creating? It was not power, knowledge or possessions. The reason is that even myself, I cannot possess love, alone. Without a partner I would be lonely and sad.
This is the basic rule of the universe: you cannot love while being alone.
I have the potential for love, but love is found only in a mutual relationship. Therefore, I followed my heart's emotional impulse to love infinitely. I began by conceiving in my mind the different levels and structures, as well as the fundamental laws and the design of both, the dynamic and temporal process of formation and evolution of the cosmos. Then, I established a clear action plan to create, out of my energy, a unified cosmos made of two different universes. Since spiritual and material are completely united in me, I intended to create a cosmos made of both, a spiritual and a material universe, linked together. The first universe I created is primarily made of mental elements, together with some element of energy. In the spiritual universe, spiritual substance obeys specific laws. It can be modeled nearly instantaneous, governed directly by thought. Forms are quite plastic, reflecting the spirit's inward character. Time is flowing in the spiritual universe differently than in the material one. In that universe, my love energizes all elements, and infuses everything with life. These life elements shine throughout the spirit world, and nourish all existence. After having created the spiritual world, I gave life to spiritual beings. Some of them possessed more free will than others. They were supposed to be messengers, servants, helpers, guides and guardians for the human beings I intended to create. They were not designed to have dominion over the cosmos. I gathered them together to start the creation of the physical universe. I set up a hierarchy amongst the spiritual beings. Here is Lucifer before he betrayed me and became a criminal. He was then the ruler of the spiritual beings, and channeled my love to them. Here is Michael, and Gabriel. I showed them the vision I had. I wanted to create the cosmos so that I could rejoice over people in all things as they become one, centering on my love, and making a harmonious world of love. In so doing, I could rejoice over people, as they become true husbands and wives, centering on my love, creating families, tribes, races and a world of true love. I would be able to taste the joy of love, by becoming one in love, with such people. I loved Lucifer as a brother. His cooperation with me, to create the first human beings, brought me much joy. He understood my desire to have a physical world, akin to my body where I could express my masculinity and femininity. From the human, animal, and plant level, until ending at the atomic level, Lucifer knew that I wanted men and women to become my children. Before creating the first human beings, I wanted to prepare the best environment possible for them. I chose to make first the human body, and then the spirit. For that, I established eternal physical laws, which I followed absolutely. This process of physical creation unfolded in an autonomous way, that is, with a certain capacity for self-regulation, but also in an automatic or mechanical way, following predetermined laws, and partly also by chance or accidental processes. I utterly devoted myself and my many efforts, giving all my heart and soul and the essence of my life. I totally poured out all my love and affection. I wanted human beings to become unique, in having both a spirit self and a physical self. That double structure would enable them to become rulers of both, the spiritual and physical worlds, and to be the center of harmony between the two worlds. Lucifer knew that I wanted men and women to become my children, endowed with my creativity, able to participate with me in creating the universe. I wanted them to be like me, gifted with the ability to design and plan their own creative works that they could build afterwards with elements of the physical world. Most importantly, my children were to be endowed with the freedom to establish their own perfection, by fulfilling their responsibility, practicing a life of true love. In that way, they would have participated with me, in creating themselves as the highest beings, the crown of my creation. I am incorporeal, but through them, I could appear in an external visible form. Human beings were created as my object partners who could receive my direct love. I was thrilled, after I gave birth to the first human beings, Adam and Eve, and saw love sparking between them. I shouted with jubilation, loud enough for the whole universe to hear,
"It is very good."
Adam and Eve, and their offspring, should have qualified to rule over all things, and become the lords of all creation. I told them to become fruitful and to multiply. That means that, only after their physical bodies and spiritual bodies had become fully mature, should they have become a loving husband and wife, and had children. Lucifer, Michael and Gabriel took care of Adam and Eve. They acted as teachers. The two children had not a moment to be bored. There was so much to look at and explore: birds, rivers, fish, rocks, mountains, fruit, flowers. They learned from the nature. Adam and Eve always lived close to each other, as brother and sister. I specifically directed Lucifer to look after, teach, and love Adam and Eve, with all his heart. At first, Lucifer was extremely happy. He took pride in the fact that he was looking after my children. He was moved by my love for him. He protected my children and raised them with care. As time went on, though, Lucifer saw that Adam and Eve were growing up just fine, with less and less need of his help. Lucifer started to become jealous and self-centered. He began to think, no matter how I look at it, I'm the one who was here first, and worked hard to cultivate this garden. Why is it that God cares for, and loves Adam and Eve, more than me? The seed of resentment toward me was beginning to sprout within Lucifer's heart. Sometimes, he would protest to me. Why do you give your work to Adam and Eve, when you have never done so to me? Why do you reserve such special love for Adam and Eve? Why do they have both a physical and spiritual body and not me? Why will they give birth to their own children and have their own lineage and not me? I am disappointed. How can you do this to me? However, in truth, my love towards Lucifer did not change. It was the same before and after the creation of human beings. Yet when he saw that I loved Adam and Eve more than him, he felt as if there had been a decrease in the love he received from me. Lucifer was always with Eve alone. He was always kind, and willing to teach Eve everything. It seemed to her that Lucifer understood all the principles of heaven and earth. Sometimes he would bring things that she would like to eat. In the meantime, through Lucifer, Eve developed a feeling towards the opposite sex. Lucifer eventually also came to fall in false love with Eve. Adam, on the other hand, was inattentive to her. He was preoccupied with everything around him, and did not yet have any interest in Eve. Directly warned Adam and Eve not to have sex while immature. They were only 17. I told Eve to not respond to Lucifer's love. But those things did not sound serious to them. When one is too young, and is not aware of things, some commands do not make sense. You cannot tell things too early. But Lucifer knew. I gave several warnings, trying to avoid having a blot on history. Lucifer, however, began to plant in Eve the arrogant concept that he was the highest of all beings, and that he could even become higher than me. The being that actually opened Eve's eyes to the opposite sex was Lucifer. At the time Eve's relationship with Lucifer came to fruition, Adam began to notice it. But Adam did not interfere in their relationship, nor did he express his love for Eve. He just left her alone. Then Eve's love for Lucifer became more passionate, and Lucifer led her well. Eve just could not let go of Lucifer. This lasted for quite some time. Lucifer was scared and so was she. Lucifer, who left his proper position, due to his excessive desire, and Eve, who wanted to open her eyes and become like me before the time was ripe, formed a common base. The power of the unprincipled love generated by their give and take, led them to consummate an illicit sexual relationship, on the spiritual plane. All beings are created based on the principle that when they become one in love, they exchange elements with each other. Accordingly, when Eve became one with Lucifer through love, she received certain elements from him. First, she received feelings of dread, arising from the pangs of a guilty conscience, stemming from her violation of the purpose of creation. Second, she received from Lucifer the wisdom which enabled her to discern that her originally intended spouse was to be Adam, not Lucifer. Once Eve had united with Lucifer through their illicit sexual relationship, she stood in the position of the fallen spiritual being with respect to Adam. Adam was still receiving my love, and therefore appeared very attractive to her. Eve looked for him with a sincere heart. She desperately clung to Adam, appealing to him to help her. Foolishly seeing Adam as her only hope of returning to me, Eve tempted him, playing the same role as Lucifer had played when he had tempted her. Adam responded. The power of the unprincipled love, generated in their immature relationship, induced Adam to abandon his original position, and brought them together in an illicit physical relationship of sexual love. When Adam united in oneness with Eve, he inherited all the evil elements Eve had received from Lucifer. These evil elements in turn have been passed down to all subsequent generations without interruption. How did Adam fall? He fell due to his disbelief. Disbelief was the primary reason. Next, Adam fell because he asserted himself. He put himself, his ego, in the center of everything. Adam fell because he took a self-centered position. Next, Adam demanded a realm of self-centered love. These are the three major elements of the fall: disbelief, self-assertion or self-centeredness, and finally dreams of self-centered love. These are the footholds of Lucifer and of all the fallen spiritual beings behind him. When Eve had a sexual relationship with Adam, she could not feel the same passion for him as she felt towards Lucifer. She came to miss Lucifer more and more. Adam and Eve felt distant to each other. Whenever Lucifer glanced at her and tempted her, he was irresistible. Eventually Eve was drawn to the bosom of Lucifer, and could satisfy her burning desire through him. As time passed by, Eve could not avoid my eyes on her. She was scared of my anger towards her. Then she went to Adam. Although she had no physical relationship with him, she felt a sort of peace, without realizing the reason why. Whenever she went near Lucifer, she was captured by an intolerable fear. As time passed, she came to realize that what she did with Lucifer was wrong, and felt more guilt towards Adam. The heart of the original ancestors of humankind was not bad. They had no idea what they were doing at the time of the fall. They fell without knowing. They didn't know what would result. That's why, the number one way to become one with me, is to believe. Adam and Eve did not understand that the males and females, in the mineral, plant and animal worlds reserve their sexual organs for the sake of their partner in love. The fall originates in their going against the iron rule. Their sexual organs did not belong to themselves, but to each other. As Adam and Eve came under Lucifer's shadow, their spiritual growth stopped. Before the fall they had some ability to converse with me, but then they sank into ignorance of me, and even insensibility to me. They could no longer receive my word directly. Their spiritual senses became as dull as those of animals, dominated by guilt and lust. Adam and Eve's immature spirit and flesh never became one. Evil blood permeated their being, dominated their emotion, held heart and intellect captive. They were insensible to the original internal nature of all things, including their own bodies. The invisible and visible worlds could not resonate. Discord reigned. Lucifer became the father of the first ancestors of fallen humankind. All the ugliness that was in his heart has been passed to his children from generation to generation: fear, jealousy, envy, and the drive to dominate and exert power. Human beings are unable to take my standpoint. They are so confused. What I regard as bad, they see it as good. They cannot keep their proper place, always willing to dominate and to multiply criminal deeds. How sad I was when Adam and Eve committed the fall and sank away from me. They should have been the ideal partners for me, who embodies the pure essence of love. My sorrow exceeded that of any person. I grieved so very deeply. The deeper and greater the value of what was lost, the deeper the sorrow. Can you imagine how much it breaks my heart to observe human misery every hour of every day? How miserable is my inner heart as I watch my children lose their original, privileged value of creation, become like fallen maggots and struggle in a life without value. How mortified I am to see people groaning in lamentation, suffering and despair, ending up being defeated instead of becoming my direct children through my love, life and lineage, and attaining the glory of the heavenly kingdom. Lucifer has been our arch-enemy since time immemorial. He brought myself and humankind to ruin. Humankind received Lucifer's love and life, and thus the history of their restoration has been so difficult. I cannot liberate human beings until they themselves establish the conditions for their liberation, because it was they who committed sin. Why is it that I am unable to wipe out Lucifer and all evil at one stroke? I created the very process of growth. Human beings have the duty to pass through certain steps. Their life starts in their mother's womb until they are born in the physical world. From that moment on, their own responsibility is engaged in the process of becoming people who can give and receive true love. Then, they grow throughout their life in order to become mature, spiritually as well as physically, and be born at last in the spirit world after their physical death. I cannot claim back the free will that I gave to human beings, lest I would make them lower than irresponsible dolls, having lost their capacity to be my children. From the beginning, seeing Lucifer's revolt, I have been warning humanity not to follow him. Men and women have to make their own way. To deny their responsibility by eliminating Lucifer is inconceivable for me, because this would amount to denying the whole purpose of my creation, and would make it imperfect. Secondly, I told Lucifer,
Don't compare yourself to me. I created you, but your behavior and your fallen deeds do not belong to my divine creation. It is you, and you alone, who have taken on this role of a fallen spiritual beings, taking delight in the creation of evil. You have chosen, and your revolt belongs to you alone. If I were to intervene in your behavior, it would mean that your evil deeds are an intrinsic part of my divine creation. But you, Lucifer, a fallen beings, who is the origin of evil through your own deeds, thought you would become a creator equal to me. I cannot accept that one rebellious creature becomes equal to me. Therefore, I cannot intervene in your behavior.
Finally, Lucifer knew that I had created human beings, so that they could inherit the universe. Parents create an environment fit for the well-being of their children. Likewise, I had created such an environment so that throughout their physical life, men and women can be happy, can develop, and can become superior beings entitled to be king and queen of the universe. This, they do by taking part in their own creation, through perfecting themselves in their capacity to love. When this goal is reached, they become worthy to rule with true love over the universe, including Lucifer, as I intended to do myself. How wonderful, isn't it? A world of love and of peace. Lucifer had a place as a professor and as a servant in this process, and he left his position. Through his crime, the current world has nothing to do with what it should have been according to my initial plan, and mankind is still in a state of spiritual immaturity, far away from unity with my parental love. If I had intervened directly and eliminated Lucifer right away, it would mean that I gave authority to immature and imperfect men and women, to rule over my creation. In other words, my initial goal would be changed by Lucifer's crime. I cannot accept that my creation would end in failure because of Lucifer. Lucifer accuses me, saying, God, you are the eternal and immortal subject being. I know that you are the great supervisor of heaven and earth. Since you are the substance of truth, love, and principles, you, like your laws in principle, cannot change. For this reason, although I am fallen, don't you have to practice the principles you established? Therefore, as a being of principle, you cannot bring your sons and daughters to the original world, without loving me, the fallen spiritual being. Your plans for me before the fall, do not allow your children to enter the heavenly kingdom, unless your son and daughter, and even you yourself, love me. Thus, though I fell, you must follow that principle. Therefore, you should love me. You cannot be the true God and your son and daughter cannot be your true children without loving me.
And he is right, I am trapped.
Lucifer's evil nature was passed on from Adam and Eve to their children. Cain became jealous of his younger brother Abel, and eventually killed him. A murder was committed in the very first family, and it went on, and on. Lucifer's fallen nature has been passed to mankind from generation to generation. Countless spiritual beings followed him, and over time, more and more evil persons lived, died and went to the spiritual universe. Eventually hell appeared in that universe. What is hell? Hell is a place in the spiritual world that has no relationship to my love, life or lineage or even to myself. Hell is where someone is alone with everything shut away from him. He longs for everything but it is unattainable. Intuitively he can see and feel a vast realm of happiness of this universe, but he cannot move an inch. When people go to the spirit world, they go to hell on their own account. When people who live an evil life go to places of goodness they cannot breathe. So, inevitably they go in search of a place that suits them. They go to hell, to a darker place. Conversely, good people cannot stay in hell, even if they were told to live there. They wouldn't be able to breathe. It would smell and taste repulsive to them. I don't send evil people to hell. They go to hell on their own. I don't have the concepts of good and evil in myself and therefore I don't have the responsibility to judge good and evil. I don't seek revenge, I am not the Lord of Judgment. Since the concept of the enemy is alien to me, and I haven't set down the rules enabling me to judge, I cannot strike first. Throughout history, my strategy has been one of being hit first, and then taking back what is mine. Although I exist as an absolute unchanging being, with absolute authority, it seems as if I am not here. I have to re-establish my absolute authority, through subjugating Lucifer and all evil spirits, naturally rather than by force. Lucifer's servants in hell, known traditionally as evil spirits, are either fallen spiritual beings, or evil people in the spirit world. Evil spirits influence, or obsess, or possess the spirits of people living on earth, and eventually push them to commit evil deeds. Therefore the power of Lucifer is conveyed through evil spirits, and is manifested in the activities of earthly people. Lucifer is a criminal, who is causing ignorance, obscurantism, and blindness. Through evil spirits he is working to lead mankind away from me. He sows doubts, resentfulness, selfishness and spreads half-truths. Lucifer tempts people on earth to sin, and then accuses them constantly in front of me for sinning. Over the course of a person's life, the works of evil spirits will gradually lead to an increase of anxiety, fear and selfishness and cause that person's health to gradually deteriorate. Lucifer has become a fallen spiritual being, deprived from my love and subsisting on evil elements, gleaned from the sinful world. The sexual trauma, endured by Adam and Eve and passed on to their descendants down to the present generation, results in chronic physical and mental illness. No one can prevent the plague of sexual promiscuity, which becomes increasingly prevalent. Lucifer's domination has resulted in misery, poverty, and a dramatic destruction of the environment. Human history has been one of endless conflicts, characterized with the impossibility to unite as one. Yet I am not sitting idly watching my beloved children suffer. I want each fallen person to go on my side, rather than staying on Lucifer's side. However, when someone has lost his original position or state, he must make some condition of restitution to be restored to it. Therefore, a fallen person will go to my side, if he makes good conditions, and to Lucifer's side, if he makes evil conditions. In order to be free from Lucifer's accusation and evil influence, you must do good deeds that Lucifer would never do, Love unconditionally, sacrifice yourself, have faith in my words and in the ones I have sent. I want each one of you to willingly fulfill your portion of responsibility by making indemnity conditions, go forward and overcome Lucifer on your own. I love you, but I cannot do that on your behalf. So despite the challenges, just after Adam and Eve's fall, I initiated the providence of restoration through indemnity, through which I intend to save my fallen children, and have them restore their relationship with me and the original world of goodness. Human history is thus leading toward the restoration of one unified world. I desperately need each one of you to come back to me. I want to give you all my love, my life and my ideal. I want you to be saturated with my love, to be filled with joy, and to feel overwhelmed by a total satisfaction in life. Your joy will be my joy.